It's now time to take a look at news stories making headlines around the globe. But before we start the news bulletin, our colleague Rufai Oseni has something to say to our viewers.
Thank you, Tundu. And I must have to read out a personal message I did write and I penned down. As many of you know, in the last 2 days, I've been in the news for the wrong reasons. This has resulted in needless distractions for my friends, family, members of the public, and all my colleagues here on Arise News. I'd like to apologize to all parties over what transpired during the incident with the police when I was stopped for driving on a bus lane. I cannot and dare not lay claims to know it all. Lessons have been learned from this entire episode, and this has been a very humbling experience for me. I'd like to use this opportunity to express my gratitude to all those who have reached out to me in the last 2 days for their guidance and counseling. Thank you, everyone. God bless you all. And please, let's continue to strive to make our country a better place for all. I apologize once again.
Thank you so much, Rufai. Moving on with the news making the rounds, 5 out of the remaining 39 abducted Abuja-Kaduna train passengers have been freed by terrorists, leaving 34 others in captivity. A member of the negotiating team, Tuku Mamu, confirmed to Arise News that the 5 victims were released on Tuesday. Among those released is Mukhtar Shuaibu, who sustained a bullet wound while in captivity. The victims say they barely had food to eat for the first 3.5 months in captivity. Meanwhile, one of the freed hostages, Professor Mustafa Imam, who is also a medical doctor with the Usman Danfodio University Teaching Hospital, says there were no medical supplies in the terrorist camp, adding that he was responsible for treating all injured persons in captivity. But it's not clear if any ransom was paid to the terrorists to secure the release of the abducted victims. So far, 28 victims have regained their freedom, with 34 still in captivity.
My experience is really terrible. I mean, you can see I just finished shedding tears of joy that I've been. I mean, I have returned back home and I'm going to be reunited with my family very soon. Now, quite frankly, it's not the experience I've been through in the last 4 months is not something I would like even my enemy to go through, because I mean there was barely food that for people to eat. We were hungry for the last 3.5 months.
Earlier, Arise News spoke to one of those freed victims, the man you saw in that clip, Mustafa Umar Imam.
Unfortunately, the government did not play any role in securing my release. Everything was handled by my family. I don't have all the details regarding whether or not any ransom was paid at this moment, because I have just returned home barely 8 hours, and I live in Sokoto State, and I'm currently in Kaduna State, so I have not really had time to personally engage and discuss with my family members to determine if any ransom has been paid. But then what I want to stress here is the government did not play any role in securing my release, and for this reason I am really worried for those people that I've left behind. There are currently about 34 people still left on that camp. The oldest the oldest captive on the camp is 90 years old, a female, and then the youngest captive is a one-year-old child. A lot happened while we were in camp. Initially, like I said when I was released, we were very hungry. Because there were days that we only ate once, and then there were days we only ate twice. And then most times we were fed with maize or just carbohydrate diet. which is not balanced in any way, especially for children. Now, when people got sick on camp, sometimes it took days for them to provide medication, but then when they did, in a way, I would say they were magnanimous, just like you mentioned. But then the problem is sometimes when the medications finish, it takes them a very long time before we receive supplies of medications. Now, there was a time I could remember a certain lady got very sick just because she had malaria, and this lady literally went into coma right in front of my eyes because that lady was unable to get medication treatment for malaria. Now, something happened very recently which got me very confused because for some reason they decided to give everybody on camp 10,000 naira to be able to purchase whatever we needed. Now, because they do sell things, I believe, from their houses. So we could send the security guards to get whatever we needed, things like soft drinks, milk, beverages, bread, and other supplies. But then this happened in the last 2 weeks, and in terms of how organized they are, I would say the government needs to take them very, very, very seriously because these people are highly organized. Now, they do tell us that they have people, they have spies planted across the country, and I believe them. Because we've had them talk about things that they shouldn't know about. So I want to believe some of those information that we've had from them came from spies or people they've planted across the country. And we actually hear them talking about attacks that they are planning very openly. They say they can attack these places, they can attack these places, and sometimes some of these attacks actually come true. Like, nothing in particular they spoke about while we were in captivity, but they promised that they were going to carry out serious attacks. And when I came out, I heard that they participated in, they were responsible for the Kuje prison jailbreak and a few other attacks across the country. And like I said, I want the government to take them really, really seriously.
President Muhammadu Buhari has strongly directed the military and security agencies to flush out all identified terrorists and criminals across the country. Buhari condemned the recent terrorist attacks in Sokoto, Kaduna, and Plateau states. Earlier, the president said Nigeria is making meaningful progress in tackling banditry and insurgency with the support of friendly countries. He spoke while receiving the new envoys of Canada and Mexico. Adeswa Omorma reports.
The new envoys arrived at the presidential villa. As it is customary, a guard of honor by the Presidential Guards Brigade welcomes the new Canadian High Commissioner to Nigeria, James Kingston Christoph, and Mexico's ambassador to Nigeria, Juan Alfred Miranda Ortiz.
Thank you very much. Congratulations, sir. Congratulations.
Receiving their credentials to mark formal commencement of duty, President Muhammadu Buhari restated his administration's readiness to tame insecurity, just as he called for more international collaboration. The president blames the political instability in Libya for the rise of terrorism in the Sahel and the subsequent threat to democracy in West and Central Africa.
While the political instability in Libya continues to fuel terrorism in the Sahel, as well as scatter the democratic sustenance in both West and Central African regions. Nigeria is not left out of the equation as we are fighting to rid our country of banditry, kidnapping, harder farmer crisis, and insurgency. We are, however, making meaningful progress with the support of friendly countries like yours to sustain these fights until we overcome these challenges.
He's also tasking the foreign envoys to maintain neutrality and to be guided by diplomatic practices ahead of the 2023 elections in Nigeria.
As the drums of campaign begin to rise, I urge you to be guided by diplomatic practice to ensure that your activities remain within the limits of your profession as you monitor the build-up to the elections and the conduct of the general elections. I wish you a successful tour of duty while in Nigeria.
On behalf of the ambassadors, the Canadian High Commissioner pledged to strengthen existing bilateral relations with Nigeria.
Mr. President, we look forward to working with your ministers and officials and a wide range of stakeholders from across Nigeria to build the relationships that will underpin progress in areas of mutual interest. It is a true honor and pleasure to take up our positions in Abuja today, and we once again thank you and everyone involved for today's wonderful and memorable ceremony.
The President's call for more international collaboration in the fight against insecurity comes as Nigeria is witnessing an upsurge in attacks, especially in the capital, Abuja. Adesoa Omoruan, Arise News.
Well, I mean, President Buhari stressing the need for collaboration, which has never been in doubt. We all know that. There's several blocks to which Nigeria belongs with regards to security. But it also appears to me to be some attempt at self-absolution, such that he's trying to communicate that this is really out of my control. It's like has to be a concerted effort. Whether or not that will be accepted remains to be seen. Because while campaigning, it was never suggested to the Nigerian electorate that it's out of his control. We were all told it would be taken in hand because of his, vast military experience. But there goes that quote that you like and I hate, frankly. That Mario Cuomo quote. I hate it. Because for me, it's just a way of rationalizing what is effectively electoral fraud. When you tell people you can produce a certain result, you promise people, and you fail to do so. So that's really what that says to me. With regards to the latest batch of hostages that have been released from the terrorist den, I mean, thank God for their lives. And thank God for the efforts of Sheikh Gumi and his team, especially Tuku Mamu, who has been at the forefront of this. Sheikh Gumi really did elicit so much controversy because, unfortunately, he did tend to resort to hyperbole by saying things like, the media are the criminals, or you make sensationalist comments like that. But the fact is that this man has made contacts with these people, and he's using those contacts to save lives. When's the last time any of us can say we saved a life? So, I do think some credit goes to them. Where the federal government failed, frankly, they had to step in. And it does appear with this latest batch that has been released that no mention has been made or no confirmation has been made that they paid ransom, as was reported with previous people who were released. It's very difficult to imagine that an exception will be made in their case, but we'll wait for confirmation, I guess. But it just goes to show the really intractable nature of this issue. This particular group of people who were abducted, they've been starved in the forest, then given pocket money to go and shop for little treats. It boggles the mind. Some people have set up shop in terrorist camps. There's trading going on. It really is so scary. And it just goes to show how far this has gone in this country. It is extremely lucrative to just pick up people, dehumanize them in this fashion, and then get paid a king's ransom per person. How would they then stop? They will not stop is the thing. They have to be stopped. And it's enough of the buck passing and saying, oh, it requires a concerted effort. That's the last thing we want to hear. It's really not reassuring.
All right. Okay.
Well, the last National Security Council meeting that was held, the third in a month, at the end of it, the National Security Advisor, General Munguno, told us that what government is thinking of is new strategies. What government is, proposing is, for the second time, a whole of society, whole of government, whole of nation approach, insisting that what they are looking at is a collaborative approach. For that reason, I doubt if anybody will ever come forward to tell us, as Nigerians, that ransom was paid. But what is important is that more lives have been saved. 28 persons so far have been freed, out of the persons who were abducted earlier this year, in March, 34 persons are still in custody. No Nigerian, nobody, whether they are Nigerian or not, should be excluded under the international law principle of the responsibility of government to protect. And the Nigerian government has fallen short in that regard. And that is the major source of concern. Yesterday we were talking about the Americans, saying justice has been delivered because the American government has been able to eliminate the deputy to Osama bin Laden. That's Zawahiri. Okay? He was found in downtown Kabul, Afghanistan, and it was eliminated. And the same United States that talks about high principles says, no, this is an eye for an eye. The law of Moses, because this was a man who was responsible for USS Cole bombing, who was responsible for the attack, the 9/11 attack. But here in Nigeria, Nigerians continue to ask themselves the question, what is government doing for us? In the same manner in which Kenyans, after independence, ask the question, what has Uhuru brought us? We who sacrificed so much. So in terms of expectations, many Nigerians will still be disappointed. But congratulations to the families that now have their, relatives back. Nothing is more important than life. Professor Imam, who was in that video, who was interviewed, he made a lot of revelations about the seriousness of our situation. He talked about how well organized these terrorists are in their camp. He was almost suggesting that these people are better organized than the Nigerian security agencies. That's a point that everyone should note. He talked about how they told them their attempt, their efforts, their network inside Nigeria. So are we working towards having the supremacy of terror in Nigeria? And the Nigerian government will be negligent in that regard. A few more comments on Professor Imam. This is a gentleman who was teaching in a university in China. He was invited home by the Usman Dan Fodio University, the Center for Medical Sciences, to come and help the university with his intellect, with his skills, with his achievements as an intellectual. And he came home to help Nigeria. There are many people in diaspora who today are patriots who say, oh, I want to go and help Nigeria. I've seen how the world is organized in this part of the world. I want to come home. Look at what Professor Imam has gone through. He came home to help his country, to give to the country. I won't be surprised if the next thing Professor Imam is planning now is to get a ticket and get out of here. That's where the tragedy is. Because generations of Nigerians who are in diaspora, who have distinguished themselves in various facets of life, will not be encouraged to come home. And as for all the other members, they are also just as important as Professor Imam. As we have said repeatedly in this country, on this program, when Nigeria happens to you, that's when you will know the difference between 2015 and 2022. Because the basic measurement is that, okay, are you better today than you were, say, like 7, 8 years ago? There are still 34 persons remaining in the custody of the terrorists. The Nigerian state has a responsibility to make sure that they are also released. That's one way in which we would get the message that the Nigerian government, according to General Monguno, is adopting new strategies. What that strategy is, we really don't need the details. We don't want to listen to Masons talking about architecture, security architecture. We just want peace, we want stability, we want security in the country. And all of this becomes very important in the context of the fact that we're going towards an election season. I hope we will not find ourselves in a situation where terrorists will no longer make it possible for elections to be held in this country.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Batian Tundu. I think somebody popularly says, may Nigeria not happen to you. But Nigeria does happen to us. In every way, shape, or form, Nigeria happens to us. But the question is, are we going to leave because Nigeria happens to us? No, it's our country. And we need to keep talking about it. There are many things that will be done to us in our country that might not be right. But that's the cross we must carry as Nigerians. So for that professor that came back to be able to help with COVID-19 effort and other training, the question is, even if he goes back to China or somewhere else because of peace and security, which is a valid point, but he will always be Nigerian. And it's that sense of national love we should have. And it's very stupid for me to say that in a time where your country fails you constantly. But we have no other place than Nigeria. Nigeria happens to us because we have a country now that we have a full-on bandit ecosystem. I was telling you about a joke where somebody said, banditry should be listed as a line item in the budget because there are billions made from it. And it's obvious because you can see it. See what happened. Bandits now give people pocket money. Bandits now give people what I call kidnap allowance to buy toiletries, to buy daily needs. And there's an ecosystem that sells those daily needs to the people. So till date, we don't have intelligence to even go after those people that supply the bandits? Or are we going to say those people do not know that the people that they normally give supplies to are criminals? That they have never seen them wielding guns at any point in time? So we need to go back and check. Because we can't also have a country where we keep saying Nigeria keeps happening to us and we can't do anything about it. And that's why we like to call on everybody, the security architecture, everybody, governors, the president, and everybody, to please try as much as possible to ensure we end this. Even if the ideas they have now are not working, keep trying until it works. I beg, we must have elections in 2023. These attacks are getting too much. And I'm happy the military is fighting back. The military this morning extended its area of concentration to even Kogi states that has been inundated by attacks. Kogi State used to be touted as one of the safest states. You know, Governor Yahya Bello had talked about that, but no state is spared now. Niger, Nasarawa, and the likes. I'm happy the military is carrying an action on all of this, and I pray that they should end it soon. But we can't continue to live in a country where we see things that leave much to be desired happening. God bless our country. This is the only country we've got. And I am a Nigerian this morning.